I wanted to start this video in a very serious and somber way. I have been found out. My agenda against Harry Maguire has been exposed, and the reasons for that have been detailed to the world. I am, in fact, working directly for the Glazers and Manchester United, and will push whatever negative stories they ask me to deflect away from the real problems at Manchester United. I wanted to take this time to apologize. I wanted to take this time to say that I am truly sorry for thinking about the money I can make as opposed to the football club I pretend to love. And sorry, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it. Yesterday was the maddest day of my life. The maddest day of my life. Check this out. So it all started with me being called out over my claims that Maguire does not take accountability. You can see a tweet here from a top red who says he has taken accountability and acknowledges that he'll get back into the team by working hard. Only people that enable the Glazers are people like yourself that misrepresent the truth to create divide within the fan base. Now, I want to take you through the full story and how top reds, I'm going to be honest with you, they are losing their minds. I don't quite know why yet. Maybe we can come to the end, a conclusion by the end of this video together. By the way, smash the like buttons. Make sure you are subscribing as well. Very, very important to us that you do this. But the deflection tactics are crazy. Of course, Maguire, big leaks to the media last week, defending himself, always deflecting. But top reds have really come out in his defense. And I didn't really understand why at first. But by the end of my kind of conversations with them, it was all very, very clear indeed. And I want to start this video really by saying these people are helping to kill the football club. They are helping to kill the football club rather than focusing on the real true problems that the club has. Now, Maguire isn't the biggest problem, but he's one of the problems in relation to the mentality, the culture, and behaviors at the football club that needs to be addressed. Of course, funding the Glazers is another, and we'll touch on that later. Giving them money, and not focusing on them being the main issue is another big problem. But it doesn't mean you can't focus on some of the issues surrounding it as well. So, of course, I tweeted yesterday, and I essentially turned around and said that top reds defending Maguire are ironically the same that fund the Glazers. Both feel like they're true supporters. They're truly supporting the club, but in fact, they're damaging it. And I stand by that sentiment. My opinion right now is over defending players like Maguire, funding the football club. I know it feels like protection. I know it feels like real love, but I think you're damaging the club. So that led to the comment that I've already showed you up here, that Maguire has taken accountability. Then calling people like me Glaber enablers. We'll get on to me being a Glazer enabler later. He then tagged in his post 2 screenshots of Maguire saying, I am all good. I am ready to play. I feel fit and I feel fresh. On my form, I don't know what has been said. I don't really read about it. He goes on to say that I came off the back of 3 positive games for England. I felt really good. Obviously, the manager decided to leave me out and the team has been winning since. I'm working hard on the training pitch to make sure I'm ready for when my opportunity comes. That is all what I can do to try and help the team. Now, that all reads really good. But this is what people do. They focus on that and go, see, he's admitted the team's winning. He's working hard in training. What more do you want? Well, I want to see this over a prolonged period of time. I don't want to see any more leaks from people close to you. And some people might defend him and say, well, it wasn't him that leaked the information. Well, it's come from credible people that are close to him. Mark Ogden would not risk his career by lying about it. Wouldn't risk his career by making it up, because it would be very easy for Maguire to say, prove it, show us your source, take him to court, make the guy lose his job. That isn't happening. Maguire hasn't even called him out publicly. His family haven't called out ESPN publicly because they know what he's saying is true. So that's first and foremost. I want to see that mentality from Maguire on a regular basis. But at the same time, when it comes to Maguire, this is how I view it. Say I sat on this camera every day saying, be vegan, be vegan, be vegan. Being vegan is better for the planet. It's better for your health. Animals are not being murdered. Be a vegan, be a vegan, be a vegan, be a vegan. I'm walking around and I'm pouring milk all over Harrods. I'm pouring cream all over the floor at Tesco's. I'm laying flowers down in the meat aisles at Morrison's. I'm out there protesting. I'm out there hugging sheep, kissing chickens. Be a vegan, be a vegan, be a vegan. And then you see me eating a hamburger. It doesn't matter all those great things I've said, you're not going to take it seriously. And when I look at Maguire, this is the thing for me. I go back to what he said before Man United played Liverpool, where he stated that there's a reason why both managers have been putting me in the starting 11 for every game. It's what I bring to the team. It's what I bring to the starting 11. Go back to these comments that came out all those months ago, those tone-deaf comments. And I think this came out on the 20th of April, 2022, for full disclosure there. And this is my point. This is a player who consistently has said in interviews, why are people having a go at me? I'm being picked. I must be good. You remember the ears, the fingers in the ears when he scored for England, all this type of thing. So he says a lot of the right things, and then he'll always supersede it. He'll always damage it by saying something like I've just put out there, just like these leaks to Mark Ogden that ruin it. So for me, I stand by my opinion. None of the slander yesterday really and truly changed my mind. None of you changed my mind whatsoever. And the biggest reason none of these top reds changed my mind was because of the deflection tactics from them. And that's what we're going to move on to. By the way, leave us your comments below. Also scan that QR code on the screen as well, please. And download the One Football app, the best one-stop shop for football news, tactical breakdown, statistics, live scores, and of course, one Serie A game live streamed each week and near live instant replays, goal reactions, etc. from Serie A. So get it downloaded or scan the QR code. But the reason that I focus on these guys is they're deflecting massively. The deflection yesterday was crazy. And it's leading me to two trains of thought, and I want your opinion on it. The first was, every time I responded with quotes and things that Maguire had done wrong, they deflected onto a new subject every time. The first one was, David De Gea conceded 60 goals and we finished 6th and we won no trophies. Are you calling him a liar and that he lacks accountability? And this goes back to David De Gea's comments last season about, for him, it was a very, very, very good season. Of course, I replied with, I've been calling David De Gea out for a while. He's a player that I do think the club needs to move on from. I think he's well past his best and goalkeeping has moved on. However, very weird to deflect onto David De Gea because myself and people on the terrace have called out David De Gea when he's done the wrong things as well. I'm just not going to call David De Gea out on a day that we're talking about Maguire because of what Maguire has done. That kind of whataboutism isn't what I do. Him and then others within the thread then went on to say that there's no pressure on De Gea, the main problem at the club. But all of you are on our backup centre back. It's crazy. If you put pressure on David De Gea, the club would get rid. Now, this was the strange bit. This was the real strange bit for me. What do you mean the club will get rid if we put pressure on David De Gea? And we'll get on to them saying that. But equally, the main problem being David De Gea. I just thought that was a little bit of a strange kind of take. Then suggesting that Maguire is our backup centre-back. He's still the club captain. He's still in the dressing room. He's still a problem if he doesn't change his mentality, as explained in previous videos. The same guy then goes on to say, you should be hounding him out, or is that being a Glazer sympathizer? He's the reason our season's a write-off. So this was the second person from the top red brigade that believed that we as fans should be hounding David De Gea out. David De Gea is the reason our season's a write-off, and we're not doing that because we're Glazer sympathizers, and we want the season written off because we're on side with the Glazers. Which I thought was strange. They then went on to say that the issue with me personally in fan accounts is that you're contributing to the vilification of the player and exaggerate the matter. And these are the same people that just a few moments earlier were saying that David De Gea is the reason the season needs to be written off. Why are we not focusing on David De Gea? David De Gea is the main problem. You cannot make it up. And then they went on to say to me that if people like Terry alerted everyone to how David De Gea cripples us, he would have been out years ago. True. Sadly, the club don't allow players like David De Gea to be attacked by the channels. honest to God, this is one of the things you can do wrong in life. Top Reds, and it's not all match-going Man United fans, but there's a percentage of them. They don't watch what we say or do, but they talk about what we say and do. We have many people on the terrace who have continuously called out David De Gea. But the crazy thing is, they believe that whatever the fan base says to do, the Glazers follow suit, which is crazy. They do it in certain circumstances. When the pressure comes on top of a manager, they sometimes react. But they act like the Glazers do exactly what the fans always tell them to do. If that was the case, they'd have sold the club. It's absolutely crazy to me. And then I kind of replied and I said, look, well, you think if I tweet something, the Glazers are going to take it seriously? The guy went on to say, why would anyone be prepared? They talk about something else. He goes, I believe that certain big influential accounts are paid by the club to spin negative information that suits agendas. Okay. And this echoes with, if people like us turned and everything else. But this was the one that got me the most. I believe certain big influential accounts are paid by the club to spin negative information that suits agendas. By the way, this was liked by one of the main protagonists against me yesterday. So I'm putting the receipts out here. He liked this. So he can't say he wasn't involved in saying this. This guy literally believes that I'm paid by the Glazers to slag off Maguire. And I'm kind of reviewing it all in my head. And I'm like, so there's two things at play here. There's match-going Reds that know they are some of the biggest contributors towards the Glazers remaining in power. Not the biggest, but some of the biggest in terms of match day revenue, filling the stadium. Filling the stadium, of course, satisfies the sponsors, satisfies the TV companies hugely. And they kind of want to deflect away from that. So now going after players like Maguire is doing the bidding of the Glazers because it's deflecting everybody away from the main problem at the club. The irony in saying that to me is I'm literally making videos weekly and putting out tweets weekly telling fans to crush the value of the football club, to destroy the value of the football club, to force the Glazers out. It's weird that the Glazers and me would be working together. The other element, which I saw in this more than anything else, was Top Reds being angry and jealous again. And I think this is the biggest factor. There's an element of this deflect on the Glazers so that we don't look as bad. But the biggest element here is Top Reds and certain match-going Reds are just jealous. And they have been for 4 or 5 years. They are jealous to their core. Jealous to their core. That certain Man United fans, some not from Manchester, some from Manchester, some from abroad, some from America, some from Australia, some from New Zealand, some from Nigeria. Doesn't matter where. It's irrelevant. But they hate it. That their opinions are not popular, or their takes are ignored, or nobody cares what they have to say. Go back through that timeline again. You should not vilify. You should not vilify an individual player. It's wrong. They then go on to completely vilify one after the other. David De Gea, David De Gea, David De Gea, David De Gea, David De Gea. David De Gea is the issue. David De Gea is the problem. David De Gea is going to write the season off. If people like Terry, they also mentioned Mark and others in the thread, if you guys went after De Gea, he'd be gone and we'd be a better football club. So it's like, so basically you're just angry that nobody listens to you and the player that you think is the worst in the squad isn't getting the same level of attention as a player that you think's okay or not that bad, or a player that you think isn't really a problem. So then it just becomes down to opinions, and we differ on opinion, which is fine. But the logic, ironically, is somewhat the same. I mean, personally, I don't think just getting rid of Maguire fixes Manchester United. Maguire is a problem. It's a problem cog within the wheel that needs to be fixed. But the deeper issue, if you actually watch my content, is the message that it sends. He needs to take accountability. And I don't care how many times in a press conference he says the right things. It's about continuing on that notion and not dropping the mask once a month, once a quarter, once every 6 months, and letting your true feelings come out. Because we know the world's full of people that virtue signal all day. They say one thing on social media, but then their behavior behind the scenes is different. And that's where I see Maguire. Does David De Gea need to be changed? I think so, yes. I think he does need to be improved upon. But singling it out is one versus the other. This one isn't the problem. This guy is. It's weird to me. It's strange, but it all just becomes about narcissism. It's all about narcissism, and I'm right, you're wrong. It's not weird. It's just a little bit disconcerting in many ways. Just to address the situation with the Glazers, I can honestly assure you I'm not paid by the Glazers to push any of my stories. I don't think they know that I exist. The club and me have no dialogue, no talk whatsoever. And I think for top Reds and match going Reds to push out this notion that fan channels push these agendas is crazy. I know most fan channels aren't really against the Glazers. They do it in kind of fits and starts, but the majority, like, I would defend them all and say none of them are being paid by the Glazers to push certain agendas. This is crazy talk from match going Reds, and I don't quite know where they've got this from. But I do want your thoughts and your feelings on this, people. Is Maguire being wrongfully targeted? Is it unfair to focus on a player when it's kind of his name trending because of things that him and his party have said? Or do you agree with the top Reds? Is this a Glazer-backed kind of media campaign to deflect away from the true problems at the club? And is that true problem that's writing off our season really David De Gea? I want your thoughts and I want your feelings. Scan the QR code for OneFootball, and we'll see you all again soon. Take care. Goodbye. God bless.